What's
Hey,
up,
what's
Kevin?
going on, bro?
How are you, man?
I'm great, man.
Good, good, good. For it to be so cold, I don't know why I'm so hot right now, but we'll get past that. Maybe it's the lights. I
Blood
don't.
runs warm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you want me to put
So,
on my headphones for like mic
no, not at
purposes,
all.
or you
Yeah, as
straight?
long as I can hear you, man, we're
Okay,
good money, and I can hear
okay.
you, and hopefully everyone else can as well. But it's good to see you again. Long time no see.
I know, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Well, it's good to see you again, bro. Um,
Pleasure, man.
yeah, we're definitely going to get into everything, even, what we discussed yesterday. But,
Hmm.
as they say, I'm going to give them the abridged version of your bio because your full bio is on the post and they can go check it out when they're ready.
True,
But
true.
yeah, yeah. So Kevin is an award-winning international speaker, entrepreneur, and author. The former the former MTV Network's host and New York City fashion marketer, and has been featured by Black Enterprise magazine as a modern man of distinction. We definitely got to talk about that. International speaker and currently the executive producer and host of SiriusXM's Create Your Life series, and the owner of Podcast Laundry Podcast production company. So
Yes,
welcome
sir.
once again, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So
man. Thanks for having me.
definitely, man. I'm excited for this conversation because yes, Sunday we had a great conversation, and it
Yeah.
definitely prompted me to say we need more people to hear you on our side as well. So I'm grateful for you being
Okay.
here. So first of all, let's start with podcasting. I mean, that's what we that's the reason for the season, right? And so I wanted to
Right,
talk
right.
about how you got started personally. I did listen to one of your shows, and you mentioned that your brother or someone had suggested to you back in 2006, which is a long, long time ago. Um,
Long time ago.
so what made you finally take that leap, and when did you get started, and why?
Man, dude, I gotta admit, like, shout out to my god brother Mike Stu. He told me in '06 to start podcasting. And I was just, man, I was just so headstrong about fashion that I wasn't listening to anything that anybody was saying.
Wow.
Um, Fast forward to 2016, actually 10 years later. I've been a professional speaker since 2011, right? And I was doing
All
some
right.
speaking before then, but it wasn't full time. So I became a full time professional speaker in 2011. And I needed a way in order to be in contact and to deliver value to my audience on a consistent basis.
Mm.
And so I was like, oh, you know what? I think I'm gonna check out podcasting. So of course, me, I always do like my due diligence. So I went and like researched and read a bunch of articles, watched YouTube videos about it and things like that. And so I kind of like figured it out. But I had the opportunity to be on Ash Cash's show. Shout
Okay.
out to Ash Cash, him and Tashima Jones, who used to co-host with him at WACR 90.3 FM in Harlem. I was on their show, did a great job. The show manager liked me, and in typical, my typical grind fashion, after I
Nice.
got off of a show, about a couple of days later, I was like, you know what, let me call up there and see if there's any room, if they got any
Mm-hmm.
availability. I mean, what could hurt? What could it
Yeah.
hurt? Because I'm, going to do a podcast anyway, but why not be live on radio and, learn that skill set and do all these other things? And so I pitched, and it went pretty well.
Nice.
And
Obviously.
that's when I hopped on radio.
Okay.
And so I got the Sunday slot, and then from there I would take my radio show, cut out the music. Mind you, I learned all of this on YouTube, how to
Mm-hmm.
podcast, how to set it up, how to do all of that stuff. I taught myself all of that, and then I would
Word.
take it, turn it into a podcast, and then publish it. And so even with that, like creating the intro music and stuff like that, I got all my friends, different friends from around the world, to say Create Your Life, which is the name of my show,
Yeah,
in
I love
different
that, man.
languages.
Yeah, it's
And
really
then
dope.
I mashed it up together and made my intro song, and got
Mm-hmm.
my friend Fabian, who went to Clark, Atlanta. Shouts out to Clark, Atlanta. He's a beat producer in LA. So, had him send me over a track, and that's how, I brought it all together.
That's what's up, man. That's so you actually started on radio, not what were
Yeah.
going through other distribution platforms and then went to radio. So that's interesting. That's interesting that you kind of started there. And
Hmm.
was that always the intent to have it be both podcast and radio at the same time, or was that an afterthought, the podcasting piece?
Oh, thanks, Brandon. Somebody said Create Your Life series is one of the best out.
Nice,
I
nice.
appreciate that love. Um, Honestly, it was unintentional, right? Like I was
Okay,
going to do the podcast, and so I was researching the podcast. Then I had the opportunity, with Ash, and then I got on there, and then I said, you know what? How can I make this bigger? And that's when I said, you know what? In 2 years, this show is going to be on Sirius XM,
nice.
right? So that was, I set some goals and some parameters, and
Mm-hmm.
then I worked my butt off for it. So a big part of the grind, you know what I mean, that people don't see, or that, you know what I mean, I don't really get to talk about is that in the 4 years that I was on radio, I never took any day. I rarely took any days off.
Mm.
So that means if it was Christmas, I was there,
Yeah.
in the station on Sundays at 5:30 to 6:30 p.m., which means I got to show up at 5 and probably leave by 7. If it
Mm-hmm.
was Halloween, if it was a holiday, if it was, Curl Fest, which is like everything to me in
Yeah.
the summer, you know what I mean? I was there doing my show. And that's really what I feel like helped me to build up my catalog and then be able to take the show and pitch it to multiple XM channels for over a year in order to make the show and get the show syndicated there.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that for a lot of podcasters, it's not even on their purview,
Mm-hmm.
considering
Mm-hmm.
that as another platform, another outlet for their published content. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think podcasters especially should know about that opportunity and are available there with their content?
Well, I think so. Here's my thing. I think that you got to think outside of the box. Me and you talked a little bit about that on Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you have places that already have a large distribution network, I mean, this is just a way in order for you to increase your reach. See, the other thing is like me being a professional speaker, my goal also is how do I get my, I don't want to call it like my respect level, but like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I need to raise my bar so that I can get a speaking fee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
being a podcaster and also having a show syndicated on Sirius XM and on local radio in New York City, right? In New York City
Yeah.
is a big enough deal for me to have a 4-figure speaker to a 5-figure speaker.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So like for
Yeah,
me, my
absolutely.
whole intent was to level up. And with that, like I was very intentional about that. And so the other thing that I did that I don't know that other podcasters do is I approached it like a business from day one
Yeah.
in terms of the way that things were, in terms of the way that, all the way down to our emails. I mean, when I first started out, we used to do it. We used to interview the person before they came onto the show so that we can ask even more in-depth questions,
Got
right?
you. Yeah.
So everything was a second and third question. The whole interview, the live interview, was a second and third question to regular general questions that you would get in a normal interview. But that's proved to be probably not the best use of our time. And,
Mm-hmm.
you grow and you evolve as you continue to interview and as you continue to podcast. But,
Absolutely.
it was a grind.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet it was. I mean, anything that you create out of, I would say audio is like this cornerstone, right? It's this opportunity to expand so far into
Mm-hmm.
different, creative aspects. And so for you to reach that level, but you said it in the beginning, it was intentional. Like you
Mm-hmm.
had that prize out on that, and that's what you were determined to get to. And that's, I think, um, for a lot of podcasters, because of being a creative and not necessarily a business person, there's that desire and that want to monetize, a desire to increase listenership and opportunities, the knowledge and the acumen for business and to really make it what they
Mm-hmm.
want. Sometimes that can be very mystical. People don't really understand those ins and outs, and I think that
Well,
it is something that's important, obviously.
no, man, let me tell you something. So a lot of times people think that I'm business first. I'm actually a clothing designer by trade,
All right.
right? So like colors, fabrics, Pantones, like all of those things come first.
Okay.
And business is more of a secondary thing. But as becoming a creative, and then I always use hip hop as a muse and as a backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm watching, all of these different stories of people who are amazing artists but bad business people and things like that, to me that makes you change, you know what I mean, what your
Yeah.
focus is
Yeah.
in terms of being a creative only in this silo. And so that's what that was about for me, is really understanding. And then also, you know, when you watch people when they're older players in different games, right, like in speaking, like a lot of the times it's like, okay, well, you know, if you don't create a sustainable business out of speaking, then you're going to be 75 years old trying to run around and speak because you're
Yeah.
chasing checks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I learned in the fashion industry as well. So it's really important for, you know, even if you're a podcaster, you know what I mean, operate your everything like a business. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like one of the things that I'm gonna teach soon, like let's say in a month or so, is I'm gonna teach people how to automate their booking process, you know what I mean, for podcasting, so that it's just this professional thing that's consistent. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it's these small things people respect your show on a whole other level, because they're like, whoa, man, you know, in order to come on, I got to do this or I got to do that. Like, yeah, like nobody can come on to my show without signing a talent release form.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know I'm one of the few, if maybe, you know what I mean, one of the only who does that. But the reason why is because I want your permission in order to publish. So there's no, oh, well, you know what, you know, you know, I don't want you to release the show. Like, no, man, you gave me permission. I'm not going to do
Yeah.
anything or alter anything that you say. But, you know, these legal and small things like that, to me, make people come in and respect you and your show on another level. And I think that helps to raise your bar,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, you know, we talk about people of color, Black folks, there can be a comfortability level that gets in the way
Mm-hmm.
of really being connected to this is a business, you know, and in order for you
Mm-hmm.
to get where you are looking to go, you're going to have to do, like you said, your due
Mm-hmm.
diligence. You're going to have to figure out if there are any legal ramifications for certain things. Like, it is a part of this. And without it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be aimless, like you said, you know, and wondering why and wondering when something's going to shift. But it really is you, you know, it's the person, it's the creative that has to shift their focus sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
No,
definitely
most
respect
definitely.
that. Yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. All right, man. So you are on a mission, apparently, you know, with Create Your Life series to get people
Yeah.
to live their best life. You know, create the
Mm-hmm.
life that, you know, we talked about on your show. When people say life is short was the longest thing that I'm going to experience, you're going to experience. So I might as well be up to what I want to experience in this life, right? And so that's
Exactly.
something that Create Your Life series is all about. So talk about
Mm-hmm.
that a bit. Why are you committed to that?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I grew up in foster care for from the age of 9 months until I emancipated at 18.
Okay.
And I absolutely hated my life growing up. You know, it just sucked, you know, or at least whenever I made it back home. And so for me, what one of my biggest motivating factors was is that as soon as I get out of here,
Mm,
then I'm going to move far away. I have 5 objectives. I might be able to give you 4 right now, but it was, you know, I want to become a millionaire. I want to have my own clothing company. I want to have, you know, my own show that I advertise my clothing company on. Um, and I can't, oh man, I'm missing one of them, but, and move far away from here and be happy every day.
yeah. Yeah.
And my model then, because I asked me some questions about that is that I want to, she was like, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to do that? And I was like, I'm going to create my life. I'm just going to create, you know what I mean? This idea. So from the time that I was a teenager, I just had in my mind, and my motivating factor was the fact that I was thinking about this life that I was going to create.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that was everything for me. And it's just something that was just always in the back of my mind. Create your life, create your life. Like, hey man, you know what? You know, you go to college. I want to play on the basketball team. Okay, why not? I want to go study abroad. Okay, why not? You know what I mean? Like, do these things. So sometimes the absence of expectation allows you to breed
Mm,
creativity and go
absolutely.
to levels that, you know what I mean? You think of something and you're like, all right, well, why not? Just do it. Like, oh, you know what? I think I can be on radio. Well, let me go try it out. I think I
Yeah.
could be a professional speaker. Okay, then I find myself in Australia giving a keynote presentation to 925 people from 25 different countries.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
being able to move a room and an audience like that, um, without even saying a word, you
Mm,
know, for the first 3 or 4 minutes of the presentation. So it's all of these things. It's just like, hey man, you know, think of it and then just,
yeah.
why not?
I'm all in for that completely. I'm all in for that. And I think it's as a life coach, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, creatives,
Mm-hmm.
and I always say it's astounding to me that creatives can think up the most outrageous things to create, but then in a
Mm-hmm.
conversation about not being able to create the life that they want, you know, to me that's just
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't fit, you know, but that's a, you know, but that's something that has to, it's a process, you know, and so I get that. But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
listen, if you can create this over here, you can certainly create the life that it is that you want to live, you know. And it just takes that commitment, not just, but it takes that commitment, and determination. So I definitely hear that, you know. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
worthiness is
absolutely.
a big factor in that, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times as a creative, you can create so boldly from a place of hurt, or
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, from like that place of anguish. And so being able to grow into your full self, to me, is the real and
Absolutely.
you have to be committed to that as well. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be super transparent, man. Sometimes, I'm sitting here and, I'm like, my life is good, but it's, I need to, there's still some parts of me that I need to work on and that I need to evolve. You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
just being open and honest about that, I think is big. So it's definitely, like you said, man, it's commitment is part of it, but it goes even deeper, man. That personal work is what really helps you to maximize your potential and this lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think, I mean, just based off of what you just said, and I know myself personally, we would even be here without the work. You
Hmm.
know, even be doing the things that we're doing now, without doing some self-awareness work. That's key. You know, I remember being in that space of deserving. I don't deserve things, I guess. You know, I don't matter. And then I thought to myself, well, you haven't gone for anything to provide evidence for that statement that you are keep telling yourself over and over again. So why don't we try it
Hmm.
and then see
Hmm.
if that evidence appears that I don't deserve it. And 9 times out of 10, that evidence won't appear,
Right.
you know.
You got to
But
change the narrative.
yeah, absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely for
Personal
ourselves,
narrative.
right?
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Personal narrative in your head, because
Mm-hmm.
that's where most of the battles are lost at, man. It's really in your head, and I think that that's where it becomes so important to have certain people in your life, man,
Mm.
because I think when you're pursuing a lot and you're trying to do all of these amazing things, we get success amnesia. And
Yeah,
so it's like, like you don't remember, that last thing that you did that, to you, it's nothing. Anybody do it. That's how I feel about my accomplishments. But in
absolutely.
reality, sometimes your friends have to remind you, like, nah, bro, like everybody can't do that,
Yeah,
you
that's a
know?
humbling thing. That is a humbling thing, man, because I feel you. You know, I feel you. That's a
Mhm.
humbling thing, and also to be able to remind yourself. Sometimes we're still looking at how far we have to go, right? And it's like, how far have I
Mhm.
came already? Like this shit is crazy. How far I've come already. And I'm so
Real
focused
talk.
on, I'm so focused on out there that I'm not
Mhm.
acknowledging. I'm not present to what I've already created. And I have a belief that if you have thoughts that don't serve or support you, then they also never challenge you to do anything different, right? They just allow you to be right
That part.
there, mediocre in a space of
Right.
not of being incapable, because those thoughts are not going to challenge you. They're just going to keep you stuck and telling yourself what keeps you stuck. And so that's
I
definitely
read.
work. Yeah, go ahead.
No, no, I'm sorry to even speak over you, but I read this quote in 2009, man, that I'll never forget. It says, change is constant, growth is optional.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Absolutely.
when you talk about that, it's pushing yourself, and you're going to evolve, man. And fortunately and unfortunately, you're going to even evolve into spaces and into ways of being where people no longer suit your life, even as you get later on in life, because you're working to become someone else, right?
Yeah.
And to me, the personal evolution should never stop, and you should always be getting better and always
Mm-hmm.
be pushing yourself to become something more. So you know what I mean? It's like you're shedding that old person. So like I got this model, man. If you're not, a different person every, at least 6 months, you know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
usually say like 3 to 6 months, not changing your core, but changing habits and ways of being and becoming more.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, then you know what I mean? my boy Eric Fondren says this. He said, "Iron sharpens iron, and if you're not sharpening, then you're rusting." So
Yeah.
if you're not
Yeah.
evolving every 3 to 6 months as a person, then you're rusting.
I agree,
Oh,
man.
shout out to Brandon. He said he gets his grind
Nice.
from Kev Brown.
That's what's up, man. I need to
Appreciate you, bro.
I need to get into some more episodes, man. I could use some support. Because it's
Oh,
also
no,
like
I'm here, man.
yeah, yeah. And it's like all these things where, just like you said, the festival, I didn't know what I was doing when I started that. We talked about this. I just
Hmm.
jumped in the middle and decided this was going to turn out, period. And then did
Hmm.
everything inside of the power to do so. But after it was over, I got back in my bag, right back into the self doubt and, could I ever do
Yep.
that again? Or, the imposter syndrome and stuff like that.
Yep.
And that is a daily choosing. Like you said, it's really
Hmm.
like something that you have to choose against over and over again so they can be different. So your reality can be different, man. Yeah,
Dude,
for sure.
every day, today I had to choose against it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And
yeah,
so the other thing I feel about that, you know what I mean, when you choose against that doubt or you choose against those non-serving thoughts, is you have to put things in place. Like I know, like if I work out, you know what I mean, I feel better about myself. If I go,
hmm,
biggest things for me is to go and get that fresh air, man. That makes a
yeah,
huge difference for me, because if I can see people and I see just get that fresh air, then I get a whiff of competition.
yeah,
And you know what I mean? I get that energy, but putting those things in place in order to protect you, right? And then when you're really down, you got to have those conversations, man, with people that matter, you
yeah.
know. In 2019, I actually had the opportunity, was blessed and fortunate enough to go and travel throughout Africa for 6 months, where I
Yeah,
went to like 6 different countries,
nice.
and it was the it was the most eye-opening experience for me. But it was the most eye-opening experience for me once I came back, right? And so from then on, I came back June 4th, 2019, up until June 4th, 2020. I had the hardest year of my life.
Mm,
And I had the hardest year of my life because I had to face me.
yeah,
And I had to do, like, when I tell you, bro, like doing the work. I cried more in 2019 into 2020 than I have in the last my entire life.
wow.
You know what I mean? Well, since I was about 5 years old, because I used to cry
Hmm.
a bit when I was a boy. And that evolution and that commitment to the work and wanting and desiring to be something more, and all of those self-doubt thoughts and
Hmm.
all of those things and realities about myself and mistakes. I had to forgive myself and become something more and build on that.
Yeah,
And that's, what I mean, really doing the work and really facing yourself. So when we talk about, you got to do that work and stuff like that, a lot of times, man, it's literally sitting in the mirror and literally asking yourself, what do you see?
yeah,
And then if what do you say to yourself unconscious or subconsciously doesn't match with what you're saying consciously or verbally, man, you have to sit and literally walk back through those thoughts and try to find the roots and literally work through that. And I
yeah,
mean, sometimes you need a coach like yourself. Sometimes you might be strong enough or disciplined enough to do it yourself, man. But I say don't shy away from the help, because
yeah.
it's tough, man. Like I hit my lowest of lows, you know what I mean,
Hmm.
at around Christmas time last year, and was, yeah, man. It was low,
Yeah,
low.
yeah. I can
And
understand that, man. I can understand. So what's different? Christmas has come back around. Who are you today from that process?
that's an amazing question. Um, I'm I'm more comfortable with who I am. Um, I'm more comfortable with other people being who they are
Okay.
around me, right? A lot more humble. I feel like that whole experience was humility. I got broken down always point to the point to where I was just like, you know what, God, whatever you tell me to do, I'm gonna have to do.
Mm,
And relinquishing that power, because again, being that kid growing up in that situation, my whole life was always about, I want to take control of my life. I want to have the power.
Yeah.
and then to have to let that go in order to become something better. So I think I'm way more poised, definitely more intelligent, more focused, more intentional. Um, like I read my butt off last year as a part of that whole experience. You know what I mean? I was really, really reading, and I did a lot of cleansing in my life as far as people.
Yeah.
You know, if you weren't serving who I'm trying to become, or, you know, willing to assist or see me as who I'm working to become, you had to go.
Yeah.
That was huge. And, you know, so I have some really, really amazing friendships now. And, you know, I have some good associateships, you know what I mean, that are distant associateships, but I have a stronger nucleus than I did. And I think that that's keeping me grounded and helping me to continue to evolve.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's also such an intentional act, to be in relationship with people that you know can support you, and have the capacity to do it, you know, because that I think that a lot of times keeps us so suppressed and repressed in ourselves, is that we look around and we can see, we've talked to them already, they've got nothing for us for what the things that we need, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
so and that's okay sometimes, because they're going through their own process, and you give grace
Mm-hmm.
for that. But it's such an intentional thing to choose and recognize, this circle gets to look different, you know, this the people around me get to expand and be different, for myself.
Yes. Speaking, like, one, you know, you're celebrated, not tolerated, and then also protect what you bring into your life.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
another huge one that I had to really understand, is like, yo, man, everybody doesn't get access.
Yeah.
And that means that requires you protecting your peace. And, you know, for the longest, because a lot of times, you know, like when you have a good heart, you know what I mean, or when you're well intentioned, right? Like, I personally, you know, you could be, you know, whoever you are, as amazing, as big as you are, you know, whatever. I'm not gonna get jealous. If I see you winning, I actually want you to keep winning, so I have something to aspire to. That's how I compete. Is I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, you keep going, go to level 8,000. You know what I mean? I'm on
Yeah.
level 6,000. I'm just gonna keep working until I get there. That's how I compete.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I lost my train of thought. Well, it's just one of those things, man, where when you're protecting your peace, you know what I mean? Some people, you know, might become envious and things like that. That's okay. They can do that,
Yeah.
because they might be working through their own stuff. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that they get access to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And shout out to my god brother, who is the reason
Nice.
why I am. Told me in 2006. I didn't listen, but I love you.
That's what's up,
And
man.
we here today. So I
Yeah.
love my god brother, man. And, you know, when we talk about, you know, having that great circle and those people, man, who you really like love and connect with, and who always have you and hold you down, that's my god brother. Like, no matter what's going on in my life, anything, bro, any major decision, anything like that, I have to run it by this man. You
Yeah.
know, like, he's like literally like my foundation. You know what I
That's
mean?
what's up.
And I
Yeah.
think having people like that in your life, bro, it makes all of the difference in the world. You know, because they'll tell you when you're wrong, they'll tell you when you're right, and then they'll definitely remind you, like, you tripping because you're that good or you're that dope.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. They definitely can put a battery in your back. That's for sure. You
yeah,
know, whether they're in the room or not, you know,
right.
just knowing that they are there, you know. And
Hmm.
again, that's such an intentional process. It's something that we have to learn, you know. Without
Hmm.
experiences of what we don't want, we can't figure out what we do want. So it's definitely a process. But even going back to what you were talking about, competition, just like you were saying, that level 8,000 and your level 6,000 possibility, right? And so that's what the game is about, in my opinion, you know, is that we know we can see our possibility, and people
Hmm.
can see possibility in us, right? And
Hmm.
so, you know, back on that and what you are creating for yourself, like what's that, you also own Podcast Laundry, and that's
Hmm.
about, once again, being in contribution, serving. and making sure that
Absolutely.
the what you're doing, the thing about what I'm doing is that as a podcaster, we're keenly aware of those trials and tribulations, those wins and all of it, but we're keenly aware of the
Hmm.
process. And what you're doing is wanting to support and those processes, the production process of it. So tell us about Podcast Laundry and why you created
Absolutely.
and what you're doing with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. So funny, funny enough. So podcast laundry, like I said, when I started Create Your Life, I took it serious like a business.
Mm-hmm.
And because I wanted to provide, I wanted to get high caliber guests, and I wanted to provide a great experience for them that was like really automated and really um quick,
Yeah.
and that really just took care of them and said, hey, you know what, this booking process was easy. Let me hop on, let me come in, sit down with Kev for an hour, you live on radio, and have a good time. Shout out to Nate. He just said, what's up?
Nice.
And so what I did is I edited personally like my first 100 and something episodes of my own
Mm.
show. And so
Yeah.
I understood how to edit and what good production sounds like. And so I was like, man, you know what, like the editing, but I would do it because this is Create Your Life. This is my baby. This is my thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what I did is I created like some SOPs, some standard operating procedures, and had different aspects of the show. And we had our notes and social media graphics and things like that. And so I was like, man, I wonder if other podcasters need this, because I don't like editing. I'm a creative. I know
Yeah.
that other people do, do want this and don't want to be doing it also. And so that literally is how the service came about. And so, like I went out, like did some surveying, had some conversations and things like that, man, and put it together, hired a couple people. And, honestly, I started my company off in the black, right? Because that's the business acumen from speaking, and, the
Yeah.
detailedness from being a clothing designer and all of these different things, and then conversations and stuff like that. And so that's what helped me to build the company. And so now, like we launched Cornell West podcast, right?
Nice.
Which is,
That's what's up.
yeah,
Big
a big
deal.
deal to
This is
some, you know what
major.
I mean?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Like we produced the Grills podcast, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
which is they got like 10 million unique visitors to the website every single month.
Nice.
Owned by Byron Allen, biggest black media publication soon to be, I believe. Um, like we produced their show, and we've been producing it since episode 2. In
Yeah.
addition to my show, which is on Sirius XM, the Solar Maverick podcast. We now produce Supported Sexy by Elaine Fluker. So we have all of these different shows, but it literally all started with the way that I conducted business on Create Your Life,
Yeah.
and understanding, and having a vision, professionalism that I took to it, which allowed me to literally every show that we produce runs on the same system that I created for Create Your Life.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like I
Yeah.
literally created a blueprint from that and then turned it into a business. And that's what I mean, why it's so important to you know what I mean, to take your podcast seriously from day one. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And that's from, equipment to having a plan, to understanding who you're serving, how you're going to serve them. All of those things really make a huge difference, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, because we know as entrepreneurs, as creatives, and anyone who's doing major things,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the idea and the concept and the process can go lukewarm real quick, and you
Super.
to be clear on why you started and who you were initially looking to be in contribution
Mm-hmm.
to, because they don't stop
Mm-hmm.
needing you because you are now in your bag about something,
That part, bro.
yeah,
That
yeah,
part. Mm-hmm.
word, man, word. What do you think some of the issues or reservations some podcast creators might have about hiring outside, delegating their work, besides it being their baby and all that sort of thing? What do you think are some of the reservations, especially Black? We cater to Black podcast creators because there is this desire to level up, but
Mm-hmm.
and so we want to be able to help them level up. So what do you think are
Yeah.
some of the reasons why people do
Um,
DIY more than anything?
I think it's a mindset.
Hmm.
I think that you have to learn to value your time. And so it's time and money, right? Oh, I
Yeah.
forget what one of my friends had told me, but it becomes a battle between time and money. See, the thing is that if you're not editing, then you can go ahead and spend your time creating more good content and trying to build relationships in order for you to make money.
There
But
you
if you don't
go.
have the budget, then you go the DIY route.
Mm-hmm.
But see, the
Mm-hmm.
thing is that if you go the DIY route and you're not necessarily trained, or you're not going to spend the hours and hours and hours on YouTube and hundreds of episodes, like perfecting the craft, then your show's not going to sound that great,
Yeah.
right? And so then it's going to be tough to get the advertising dollars, because the advertising dollars show sounds crazy, you know what I mean? So, or is not where it could be, you know what I mean, because of those things. So I think that sometimes it's a matter of being penny smart, pound foolish,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I'm saying that in regards to, you know what I mean. So I like, to me, the only resource that you can't get back is your time.
Yeah.
So if it costs a little bit in order for you to get the proper production, then I think getting the proper production is the best move for you.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
you want to go with somebody who actually you can trust, who has a proven track record, and who is going to be committed to seeing you do better as a host. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know you guys produce as well. Like for us, like we're going to give you feedback, like one of my clients who's new to
Absolutely.
podcasting and things like that. Like, I'll literally sit in on your first couple of recordings, by my own volition, just because I want you to feel comfortable and come out with a good sound, right?
Yeah.
But if you choose, hey, you know what, we don't need that, then what's up, Kev? Then I will, and what's up, Nate? I will literally, we'll tell you, like, we think that you should re-record this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, having that
Mm-hmm.
professional ear to tell you that, hey, this is not the kind of quality that you want to produce, or somebody to tell you, just like, you know what I mean, give you different pointers around production and things that you can
Yeah.
do, even to expedite your process, right? Because a lot of people think that you just hop on the mic, and then most people come into podcasting thinking about themselves. Your show's not about you. This is
Yeah.
not about you. That's number one thing. But the other thing is that the real work is in pre-production.
Mm-hmm.
The fun happens in production,
Mm-hmm.
and then the magic happens in post-production.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
I
So
agree.
if
Mm-hmm.
you can do all of your work in pre, then that makes production easy, which makes your post-production even easier.
Yeah.
And so you need to spend the time. Like, a lot of people want to hop in and just, become podcasters and things like that. And we've actually had to save some shows because the people have launched too early and don't understand what it is and how important podcasting is,
Yeah.
and how to do it properly. So we've had to save a few shows and, like, literally help them change their entire formats, turn it around, add music, like all of these different components, because you were doing podcasting just because it's a hot topic. And I'm like, you can launch a podcast, or you can launch a podcast correctly. There's two
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah. 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 And I think it really is. It really is. There are a lot of people, despite wanting to have a great and accurate podcast out the gate, that's something that is
Mm-hmm.
almost a process. We talk about graduating, and not graduating to certain equipment, and graduating to
Mm-hmm.
to recognizing how to incorporate sound effects or music like that. But it is a learning process. It can be expedited by doing your own due diligence, like you said, learning from people, getting
Mm-hmm.
people to talk to, and all that sort of thing. But it can be a process, and what we want is more
Mm-hmm.
of us in the marketplace. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah,
and what I'm hearing you say is that you're deeply committed to excellence, and want it to look and feel like like it gets to, right? And I'm deeply committed to that as
yeah, yeah.
well. At the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I recognize that folks are jumping in, and we want them to jump in. We also want them to stay in.
Absolutely.
And that's where the
Yeah,
production piece becomes super important. Because like you said, creatives
absolutely.
who that's not their wheelhouse, pod fade and lack of sustainability happens real quick when it's like, oh wait, I didn't know I had to do all this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't
Speaking
know
of,
that part. Yeah.
Speaking of, hey Benoit, how are you? Benoit, with the Solar Maverick podcast,
I listened
is
to his
like
out.
one of our
Yeah.
initial clients, and
Nice.
he came in, amazing energy, funny guy. He
Hmm.
got a co-host to come in and join with him, and he's top three solar podcasts in the world.
Nice. Nice.
You know what I
Congrats,
mean?
man.
He's been approached for documentaries. He's been he speaks at his industry conferences. You know, at his industry conferences, they don't even call him by his name. They call him a Maverick, right? And so,
Nice.
but he has this curiosity about him and his energy, and he has the ability to listen, which makes a
Mm-hmm.
huge difference, right? When somebody who knows podcasting is really trying to give you feedback and help you to evolve your show. And he just said, "Hey, thanks, Kevin, for everything, man. You're very
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you for being an amazing client." You know, shout out to John and Coop, you know, who also just joined the chat. But it's those things, man. I think that one of the biggest things is really being able to listen.
Yeah.
That's huge. You know, a
Yeah.
lot of times, you know, we don't listen, and it's like, look, man, you know, like I do this for a living every single
Yeah.
day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you would want to listen to an expert, you know, who's got your best interest at heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely be willing to accept the coaching and the advice,
Hmm.
you know, that you're seeking. And especially when you have that intention, like you said, to really be in contribution and not just, you know, play somebody, try to get, you know, because that's out there too. And I think one thing about community, and we talked about this in my own interview, and
Hmm.
you know, just to talk about this here, is that community is about trust. Community is about being able to
Yes.
rely on the people that you bring into your circle, that you put your baby in their hands. You know, it's really about that.
Hmm.
And so that's what we're doing here at Afros and Audio. I know that's what you're doing with Create Your Life and Podcast Laundry. So how important do you think community is for podcasters, especially those who are just starting and even those who have been in game for a while?
I think I think it's everything. Number one,
Hmm.
because you get to have the opportunity to speak with people who speak your language and who
Yeah.
understand, right? Like people, you know, the average person is not going to understand your fade ins and fade outs, right?
Yeah.
Or how hard it was to book a guest, right? In theory, they can, but you know what I mean? Like having to run around and jump around and, you know, setting up different automations and stuff like that. I think is important, man. And community leads to more opportunities because like you and I were even talking, we talked about, you know, operating from a place of abundance,
Hmm.
right? And in that, it's like, oh, you know what, me and you do the same thing, but we're not in competition with each other. You know, there might be something that I can't do. Maybe I can pass it your way. It might be something
Right.
that you can't do. Pass it your way. And then also being able to cross promote on different platforms. Prime example,
Hmm.
your conference is coming up. My show is syndicated on XM every week. I was like, you know what, let me book you ASAP and then get you up on there so that we can help promote your show. I'm
Right.
not getting paid for that. It doesn't matter, right? It's
Hmm.
it's about community. It's about being in service to, you know, each other. You know, who knows, you know, how that might manifest. It might be something great for you, you know what I mean, later on down the road, or, you know,
Absolutely.
even when the conference happens.
Yeah.
I think that you really have to understand that operating in a silo is not going to get you that far.
Yeah.
And that is just the
Facts.
absolute fact, man.
Hmm.
And you have to accept that. And you have to accept the way that people do things differently from you,
Hmm.
analyze whether or not you want to be aligned with that brand or the way that they operate, and then move accordingly. But
Yeah.
without the community, man, like prime example, I'm doing a webinar next week. Um, Without community, I wouldn't be able to get more people to attend the webinar because
Yeah.
I'm only but one person,
Hmm.
right? And I think that that's so important to understand. And I feel like for me also, it's really showing us. This is one of my, I've probably done like a webinar like once or twice, but this is like a one where I'm like really like, you know what I mean, trying to really help people get out of their own way and launch their podcast.
Hmm.
So in
Hmm.
that, I'm like, well, you know, now I'm like literally all of my friends who I know who are doing dope stuff that I literally never asked them for anything. I'm asking like, hey man, you know, can you promote this? Can you ask anybody, you know that wants to launch their podcast? This event won't be able to take place or can't be as big as it possibly can without
Without
community.
community. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And everybody everybody wins in the community. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because we're talking about community. We're not talking about somebody who's trying to take advantage of you or anything like
Right.
that. Like community
Right.
serves, right? And so we're serving each other. And that just makes a huge difference, man.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes a huge difference.
I agree. Absolutely. Absolutely does. And so I'm so grateful to you for being here and also the spot on an XM radio. I ain't never been on XM radio before, so I'm
Come
excited about
Friday, you
this.
will.
Yeah, yeah, brother. So I appreciate that, man. So thinking about also podcast laundry and just to really seal that up, what's your vision for it as you keep going? You know, I'm clear that you are. This is a company for podcasters by podcasters, and the goal is to support as many podcasters as humanly possible. But
Mhm.
what's the long term vision for Podcast Laundry?
Okay. Well, I do want to say this. We don't we don't accept just anybody. So
Yeah,
our
I
website,
respect
if you go
that.
to our website, like you literally have to hop on the phone call with us or you have to
Mhm.
apply to be a client.
Mhm.
We're not just going to take anybody's money because we don't want to work with just anybody. We like to operate and work with certain type of clients
Yeah.
because we operate in a great system that makes things easy for the client and also makes things systematic for us and our
Mhm.
staff. So
Mhm.
you have to apply. So definitely want to serve
Thank
as
you,
many
Brandon.
podcasters as we can
Mhm.
that are qualified to be our client, but also my goal is to just serve people who want to podcast
Yeah.
and launch. I want to help people like automate their processes, give them tips on how to I want to give them tips on how to increase their speed with production, and that's from pre
Mhm.
to post, right? Like I would like to see people be able to just get through this faster so that they can get on and monetize and make this a staple in their business, right? Because people are
Yeah.
usually podcasting for like three different reasons, right? They want to increase their income, leads, or authority in their niche. And
Mhm. Mhm.
so that requires a different type of time and different focus other than doing your production work. So that's why we're here, so that you can spend more time doing what you love and what's necessary for you, right? That's like our motto. Our motto is let us do your dirty work,
Yeah.
right?
That's what's up.
Of doing like your production.
Yeah.
But I think um we want to serve, man, and I'm really excited about these upcoming ways to serve people digitally. I think it's just it'll definitely take people's podcast to another level, and I'm really excited about
Yeah.
just helping in that regard, man. I
All right.
am.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So for most things, there's an alignment, right? So you have Podcast Laundry, you have Create Your Life series. How do you
Mhm.
see the two contributing to one another in the work that you're looking to do and continue to do?
Well, I think that Create Your Life is my life's work.
Mm,
And Create Your Life fulfills me. It allows me to be a good CEO and team member to the Podcast Laundry staff.
okay.
Right. One of my biggest things, with my team is that we are a team.
Hmm.
I cut the check, but we're a team. We're a family.
Yeah.
Right. And they even get to listen to my show, for the team that does my show, and I get feedback from them. I ask of it. Right.
Okay. Hmm.
And so Create Your Life, it fills me. And it also helps us to expand our network. We get to advertise on the show. Um, it has opened up more doors than anything. I mean, without Create Your Life, we wouldn't have Podcast Laundry,
Nice. Okay.
right? So podcasting is definitely something that is a huge part of my life right now. And I'm excited to see how it continues to blossom, you know what I
All right.
mean? And how I get to grow within it, and also help other people. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. One of the best parts about running Podcast Laundry is every Friday when I actually get to cut a check to my staff. And I'm not saying it's like on no BS. I'm saying it's
Yeah.
like on Fridays I literally cut a check to all two on my team, and I know that that is going to help them, you know what I mean, be able to take care of their families and
Yeah.
their responsibilities and things like that, man. And like I literally get geeked up for that because I'm like, you know what, this started off as an idea,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, just to have this show, and then it evolved into me running a business. And now, man, these people, like my team, like like I'll check in on those people, man. I'm like, hey,
Hmm.
man, how are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? You know, like how's your child, you know, this, that, and the other. You know, because I care. And so
Yeah.
in that caring, you know what I mean, you build these relationships. So it's like, man, you know, like I get to hang out with family. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And we
Chosen
primarily
family.
communicate through Slack. You know, like
Yeah.
we're a remote team.
Yeah.
But you would never know by the way that we run, and we were remote before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you would never know by the way that we run things, but it's because of the chemistry and the conversations and things like that that happen, man.
Yeah.
And it's so important. Like, you know, prime example, I hope she doesn't get mad for me saying this. But one time one of my staff members had a sick child.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I wanted to help. So one of my friends, like I called one of my friends who was a nurse and got them there on the the video chat together so that we
Nice,
could
man.
troubleshoot in order to figure out what's going on with the
Mm-hmm.
baby. How
Mm-hmm.
can we, you know what I mean, get this baby back healthy? Because it has started to, you know what I mean, I could tell that it was taking a toll on her.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And these are the things that, you know what I mean? Like business is cool, man, but you got to be human. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you got to want to see other people evolve. And that goes all the way into even the way that you talk to people and how you
Mm-hmm.
deliver, you know, your critique or your feedback and all of those small things, man. All of that stuff matters.
Yeah, it
Um,
does.
and I'm happy to say that her son is doing better, and he's, you know,
Mm-hmm.
taking his online things like that because he's got to do school from home and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But these are the small things that matter, man. You got to really like learn and understand and be human, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just, you know what I mean, be human, bro. Be loving, you know what I mean, and be open and honest about who you are and vulnerable. I feel like it just helps the morale, man, of the team.
Yeah. That's for sure, man. It's definitely the character of leadership, you know. And I respect you for that. You know, Maya Angelou said that thing about it's how you make people feel at the end of the day. Not
Mm-hmm.
any all the other stuff they'll forget, but how you make people is everything. And so I can see that you are deeply connected to that, bro. And that's what's up. I respect that, man. I appreciate
Yes,
you.
sir.
Yeah, man. So, and we, you know, Instagram. Well, you may not know, but Instagram will play about their 60 minutes. They cut you off, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you start getting a whole countdown and everything. We still good for right now, but I just wanted to let you
Mm-hmm.
know we're about 6 minutes before that happens. Um,
Okay.
but you know, you talked about it and you said this was an idea, right? This concept.
Mm-hmm.
And so many creatives or people who want to be entrepreneurs can't get out of the nice idea stage for
Mm-hmm.
so many reasons, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
it ends with just being a nice idea. And so
Mm-hmm.
so you got it. You got committed to this going from nice idea to what your reality is. And you know, I'm a writer. I you know, podcast produce. I do a lot of things, and one of the things I had to recognize recently is I'm a bit of a philosopher. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay
Okay.
too. And so,
Yeah.
you know, so my belief is that as you manifest your vision, right, your vision starts to manifest you. You can't see where you're going in a really big scheme of things, because for the most part, we think of ourselves as we are right now,
Mm-hmm.
what's available to us right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we can't even see what's going to be expanded and elevated as we do what you've done, you know, do what
Mm-hmm.
I've done, do what so many people have done, which is start so that we can finish, right?
Right.
Get connected with people. Because that next person that could expand your whole world
Right.
could be the next meeting, could be, and you're clueless to it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so what's been your experience of, if you could jump into my philosophy a bit and prove it, you know, wrong or true. What's been your experience of manifesting your vision and that happening for you? It literally turning you out into something, in certain places that you didn't even see.
I think one of the biggest things is, well, I want to say this because I know it's going to jump out of my mind and I don't want to
Okay.
lose it. Make it public.
Mm,
If you make
absolutely.
it public, then you have to do it.
Yeah.
So like
That's
when
what
I
I did with
wrote
the
my book,
festival. Yeah.
when I wrote my book,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna write this book, and I told
Yeah.
people. So that means that I didn't want somebody to be asking. I'd be like, oh, nah, I ain't doing no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was the thing. So I think making it public. Um, if I'm jumping into your philosophy, I would have to say, for me personally, I'm a person of my word.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And I work hard, man. I always have. You know, being a foster kid, being in households where you treat it like Cinderella, you know what I mean? My work
Yeah.
ethic just has always been on another level. But I've also had to I've always had to create my life, right? Like when things were going derailed and things like that, you know what I mean? Just from the beginning, I'm talking about from being a boy, I always had to stay focused and always had to, I had to put in the work. So I would see small things happening and evolving, right? And so I'm getting these different context clues, and then different mentors would like be like, "Oh, did you see that this happened?" So I think it's you know, counting those small wins helps you to realize, oh, you know what, I can do this. But you know, it is a commitment thing, and once you make that commitment, bro, do not waver.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Oh, it ain't gonna work. Oh, this, that, and the other. Everything that everybody else saying, just keep going, one foot in front of the other. And it's not
Yeah.
gonna sound perfect. Like episode 1 of Create Your Life was not amazing. I actually used a Les Brown recording, who I used to work for, right? One of the
So
biggest
Vernon.
African American motivational speakers of all time, right? I
Mm-hmm.
used one of his recordings and talked around it, you know what I mean, on my first recording on radio. As I was learning the boards and all of those things, my first speech was not amazing, right? Like I was supposed to speak for an hour. I wrapped my speech in 39 minutes because I didn't have the experience. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's being okay with looking foolish until you get there. And you can take that into podcasting as well.
Yeah.
But you can also put yourself in the game in order to sound better and more professional, and you can just improve as a talent.
Yeah.
So it's multiple ways, man, to do it. But I think, you know, being committed is definitely number one, and make it public. Like, let other
Yeah.
people know that you're going to do this. So now your butt is on the line. And
Mm-hmm.
once your butt is on the line, bro, you cannot falter.
Word
You
up, word
cannot
up.
falter.
I announced the festival, and Vernon's here now. That's one of our
Oh,
mutual
yeah. That's my guy.
folks.
Good
Yeah, yeah,
people.
yeah. And Vernon was sitting at the table, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna have the first Black podcast festival in New York City. And
Mm,
we all just looked at each other, and I was like, well, I said the shit. It's gotta
gotta do it
happen,
now.
you know? And the thing about the circle and the community, right, is that, again, that battery in the back, I knew I couldn't fail, right? No matter what. But yeah,
Yes.
my butt was completely on the line. I knew I couldn't fail, but I also knew that with them supporting, whether it was indirect or direct, um, it was going to be
Mm-hmm.
okay. You know, even those days where it felt like I'm looking in the mirror, like, what the hell were you thinking? Like, why did you say that? Yeah, why did you commit to that? But everything turns out. But we deserve anything we put effort into, you know, and that's a
Absolutely.
fact. Yeah, man. So, bro, I really again appreciate you coming on. We literally talked on Sunday for the first time ever, and here we are in our second conversation, you
Yeah.
know, and I'm looking forward to what we continue to create together, because I know this is purposeful. So
Yes.
so I appreciate you, man. Tell people where they can find you, and how they can connect with you.
Okay. At Kevin Y. Brown on Instagram, at CYL Series for the show, and at Podcast Laundry if you want production services. We have a free webinar that will teach you how to launch your podcast. It's on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Link is in all bios. Please come ready to essentially get out of your own way and launch your show. I'm gonna give you, you know, what equipment you should use, you know what I mean, a launch plan, and how you can create an amazing experience for your listeners. I want to see more Black podcasters, more podcasters,
Absolutely.
period. So come ready to make something happen.
All right, man. And I'm still looking to find out how I can, you know, squeeze you into the festival, and because you definitely have some things that I want our people to hear, because it's so necessary. If you want to level up, you got to level up, you know. That's just
Yes.
the facts. So thank you, man. I appreciate you, and thank you everybody for joining. Until
Yeah.
next time. All
All
right.
right, brother. Take
Peace.
care.